Hey everybody, Lee here with LG Speed and Kustom. On this video, we're going to pull this 389 Pontiac out and replace it with that blown Ardun Flathead. So this is Gordie 32 Ford Roadster. Believe it or not, I actually drove this car in here a couple days ago. In fact, Gordie drove the car over here to have the work done. It's a cool little car. It's currently powered by a 389 Pontiac with a turbo 400. So we're going to be pulling that guy out, and Gordie wants to replace it with this blown Ardun Flathead that he bought a few years ago. We're going to be using a Borg Warner T5 5-speed transmission behind it. And yeah, it should be a fun little swap. So stay tuned and follow along as we put this thing together. Part of the challenges that we're going to have doing this, obviously we got to build new engine and transmission mounts, we got to change the radiator and stuff, but we also have to change the pedal assembly to work with, because we're going from an automatic to a manual. So Jim started on that yesterday. He has taken the old single pedal assembly off. This is just a single brake pedal, and we're replacing it with this dual pedal setup. This is made by TCI, this product. So basically this gets welded back on the frame, and this bolts in here. It's got a provision for a master cylinder for a clutch and a master cylinder for your brakes. So while Jim is working on that, I have been putting the 5-speed adapter setup together. We just used a Speedway adapter with a hydraulic throwout bearing. Currently, before I button this up, I am waiting for a call from the hydraulic shop. They're making me some extended lines on here so that we don't have to mess with everything through here. We can just have the lines come out where they're accessible over here. So once the hydraulic shop calls, then we can button that up, hopefully pretty soon. I just got the hoses from the hydraulic shop here. So they're just going to thread onto the throwout bearing here. And the only reason I got these made up was just so that they'll go out like the clutch fork hole. And that way you can work on it from outside of the bell housing instead of inside of the bell housing. Because I don't know how they ever expect you to get your hand in there to bleed that when it's all together. But I don't know, maybe if you have like little troll hands or something. So this way it'll be considerably easier. Tighten those up and then put the throw bearing back on and bolt the engine and transmission up. So the engine and transmission are bolted up together now. I think all that's left is to pull this engine out now. It's pretty much ready to go. There's literally just the motor mount nuts holding it in, and then we can pick it up, get it out of here, and we'll probably have to cut these guys off and then start setting that in and see how it fits. Okay, with the 389 out of the way, we can start stripping this down. So here's things. This is something that I come across all the time, taking cars apart, and it drives me nuts. So bear with me, there's going to be a little bit of whining here. But this nice fuel line, I got a cool hole going through the motor mount here. That's cool, that's nice. Except, how do you get it apart? So when you're putting your car together, they did the same thing with the brake line here. That's not going to fit through there. So when you take your car apart, try to think like 10 steps ahead that, or it's not when you take your car apart, when you put your car together, somebody's going to take it apart someday. So try to come up with like a plan on how it can come apart without running into situations like this. I see it with wiring a lot. These mounts are all cut off and cleaned up, sanded, all nice and pretty again. I just turned the chassis 90 degrees so that it's in line with the crane here. We'll pick this guy up and set it in there and mock it up and see what it looks like. It's sitting pretty much where it needs to be. This transmission cross member worked out great. It just dropped right in. It's at the very back right now. It can go a little bit further forward, which I'm okay with because there's room up front to go a little further forward. But we're having issues with this Unisteer rack. It's hitting the oil pan here. So I think I might give Gordie a call and see what he wants to do. One option is we can cut this bracket off here. If we cut this bracket off, then we can move everything forward, or the other option is just put the Vega box back on, and I think we'll have lots of room then. So we'll give him a call, see what he wants to do, and go from there. So I just talked to Gordie on the phone, and he said take the Unisteer off and put a Vega box back on, which we still have the Vega box, so that's no big deal. But I came up with another idea since then. I did some measuring and have determined that the engine bay section in this frame is actually like 2 inches longer than stock. So I took my firewall off my 32 and mocked it up on here. And it's, if we keep this firewall, it's sitting pretty much where it has to sit. But Gordie's body, it's a fiberglass body, so it's got a flat firewall and doesn't have this kick out in it. So I think set his body on, and I'm pretty confident that we can slide this engine back a little bit. We got room to get it closer to the firewall, and then it will clear the Unisteer. We'll try that. And hopefully it won't look too weird. You don't want too big of a gap in there. That's actually supposed to sit about there. But all we can do is put it together and see what it looks like. If it looks weird, then we'll come up with a better idea. With the body set on, just like I thought, we've got lots of room in here that we can go further back. However, because there's always a however, we don't have a lot of room here. And the way this steering setup is, just like we can't really change that without cutting the firewall apart, and I don't want to do that. But we got a little bit of room, and we only need a little bit of room. So I think what we're going to do, right now the transmission mount it's on a really long cross member with a slot in it, and it's as far back on the slot as it can go. I think we're going to lift the body back up, slot that hole a little further back, maybe go another 1.5 inches back. There's like 8 inches there. Set the engine back in, set the body back on, and then we can slide that back and down, and just hopefully it will squeeze in there. Put a little bit of grease on each side, and boop. So we'll try that. As you can see, there's been multiple transmissions in this car before. So I think if we go back to, probably this would have been the correct one, or the one that we want. But we'll just slot this all the way back to there, and then we can, we got options. I had to trim a little bit off the front of the mount here just to get some clearance here, but Jim just pointed out we got clearance up here now. So let's drop the body down and see how that U-joint clears the head. I think that's where it needs to be. We're pretty snug up there, and we just barely have clearance. The engine's still sitting like a 1/4 inch this way, so as we square it up, we'll gain even more clearance here. So I think that'll work okay. I guess we'll have to build some motor mounts now. So to mount this engine, we're going to use just standard flathead rubbers. And I didn't think my LG AV8 mounts would work, but they actually will. So we're going to do it basically exactly the same as Christian's engine. I don't know if you guys watched the video I posted a few weeks ago when we put the small block Chevy in Christian's Model A. But the exact same thing is going to work great. So we're going to notch it up here, cut this out, and cut this out. Then this will sit on top of the frame rail. We can weld it around the sides, and then this will come down the side of the frame rail like a gusset. And that should, with this sitting in there, give us the height that the engine is currently sitting at. So we'll mark these out, cut them out, and line it up, see if they fit. So those fit in there like that. I'm going to take a straight edge now and go across here to cut this excess off. These mounts, by the way, these mounts are on my website if there's something you think you need, lgspeedkustom.com. But I make them extra long for different applications, so you just trim them down. We're going to trim this one right along there. Jim trimmed those up, and while he trimmed them up, I went and sanded all the paint, and there's a lot of body filler in there. So I sanded all that out, and I think we'll go ahead and tack these in place now. And I think we're there. Cool, there it is in there. Fits pretty good. There's still a little bit of excess space back here, but I mean, it's easy to work on, right? And if Gordie ever puts a steel 32 body on, the stock firewall will probably fit. Over on this side, we've still got good steering clearance. Jim just went underneath and marked the hole in the bottom of the body for the shifter and for the clutch and the brake pedal. So we'll lift the body back off, pull the engine out, weld those mounts up for good. They're just tacked, and then we can put put the engine back in and start building headers and stuff like that. Pretty exciting. Yesterday we finished welding everything up, and then this morning I just touched up the frame with a little bit of paint. I got Buck over at Rondex to mix up almost like a perfect match. So that's awesome. That's all sitting there drying now. Jim has packaged up the radiator. We're going to send that off to Don's Radiators in Lethbridge, and he's going to modify it to have the 4 flathead spouts on it. So probably going to have lunch now, and hopefully after lunch this thing will be dry enough that we can plop the engine back in it. So I know I said we were just going to put the engine right back in after painting this. And I know you guys are dying with anticipation to see it in there. But I had a great idea, and that is to put the pedal assembly in and finish running this brake line and hook all the brake lines back up before the engine goes in, because right now there's all this room to access everything. So that's what I'm doing instead. So I know I said that I was going to make the brake lines before putting the engine in, but there's 2 problems with that. I don't have the right brake fittings, and more importantly, it's almost the end of the day, and I still have Gordie's chassis this way, and I need to turn it this way so that I can move my chassis over, so that we can move Shane's Model A back, so that I can get my Roadster in for the night. Shane's Model A came back today, doing the interior in it. That's what Jim's working on right now. Look at that shirt he's wearing. You know where you can get a shirt like that? lgspeedcustom.com. So without further ado, here's the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's put this engine in. Motor mounts are in. Just got to pick it up. Okay, there it is, sitting in there. So from here, we got to do a drive shaft. We got to build headers. What else? Fuel line. We need a fuel pump still. We got to do the brake lines. We got to do the clutch linkage. The radiator went off to Dawn to get its spouts done, so we'll have to wait for that to come back. Obviously, put the body back on, cut the holes in the body for the brake, the clutch, the shifter. Anything else that needs to go? I don't think anything else would need to be cut in the body. Just these, master cylinder for the clutch and the brakes. We're going to do that. But we're going to do that in another video. So make sure to subscribe so that when that next video comes up, you know all about it. Hit the notifications button. Also, as I mentioned before, make sure to check out the website if you want to get yourself an LG Speed and Custom shirt or some of these AV8 mounts or some stickers or whatever. Thanks to the Rod Iron Haulers for the music on this. This is one of Christian Head's old bands from the mid-2000s. So yeah, the band's not around anymore, but I don't know. I think they still have, Christian still has CDs, so get a hold of Christian at Headlines Pinstriping if you want to pick up an old CD from the old time days. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.